Mr. President, thank you very much. I am disappointed by the outcome of the vote here today, in which a proposal that I believe had the most merit for moving us in the right direction in regard to raising the debt ceiling and moving us toward the direction of a balanced budget failed here in the Senate. I've spoken this week several times about the importance of cut, cap, and balance, and it is the plan that has passed the House of Representatives, was the path that we could take here, and I've encouraged my colleagues throughout the week to come together and try to make this cut, cap, and balance plan the framework by which we resolve this issue of the impending necessity of raising the debt ceiling. And I've said on every occasion that it would be irresponsible not to raise the debt ceiling. I don't know exactly what the consequences and at what point in time those consequences occur, but I do know that it would be damaging to the economy. But I also believe that it would be equally, if not more, irresponsible to simply raise the debt ceiling without taking the necessary steps to put our country on the right path toward a balanced budget in the future. And I thought cut, cap, and balance really did present that opportunity in which we cut spending back to previous year's levels. We cap that spending so that it's not more than a certain percentage of our gross national product, our country's economy. And finally, that we pass a balanced budget amendment, something I've supported since I came to Congress each and every year. Believe that we don't have the necessary discipline and courage, the necessity that we need to make the decisions that put us on the path toward balancing the budget. And of course, if we approved a balanced budget amendment in the House and Senate, it still would be considered by the American people through the state legislature. So I speak this morning with disappointment that on a straight party line vote, this legislation was tabled. But I've also said throughout my conversations about the debt ceiling and about getting our country back on the right path that I believe there's a fourth component to cut, cap, and balance. And in my view, that fourth component is grow. Cut, cap, balance, grow the economy. And certainly, in my view, the federal government doesn't create jobs, but we have millions of Americans across our country who are looking for work, looking for better work, looking for full-time work, and we have way too many people who are discouraged who have looked for a long time with no success. And in my view, the primary message of the November elections of last year was this insistence that Congress get it right in order to help Americans find employment. And it's important. These two things are related in regard to how our country progresses. As I've indicated, the last time our budget was balanced was at the end of President Clinton's term in office. And yes, there was some spending restraint. There was an inability of Republicans and Democrats to come together and create new programs and big government spending. But what really was happening, what the primary reason for a balanced budget back in those days was a growing economy. And so if we want to balance our budget, I'm one who says, yes, we need more revenue, but that revenue comes not from tax increases, but from a growing economy that puts people to work and generates the revenue that then flows to the federal treasury to pay down our debt. It's actually the most enjoyable aspect of how we could balance the budget, and the side benefits beyond an improved fiscal house here in Washington, D.C. is that Americans would have jobs. We help create an environment in which they can put food on their families' tables, in which they can save for their kids' education, and have the opportunity to save for their own retirement. So today, I once again, in the absence of an agreement between the White House and the House and Senate, as has been indicated, there are ongoing negotiations about this issue of the debt ceiling, but we ought to be looking also at that opportunity to grow the economy, put people to work, creating those opportunities and raising the revenue necessary to fund, in my view, a much smaller government. And so we ought to be promoting a tax code that is fair, that is efficiently collected, is not overly bureaucratic, that is certain. We need a regulatory environment in which every business person is not fearful of adding employees or investing in plant and equipment because they don't know what next government regulation is going to come their way. Spent much time this year as a member of the Senate Banking Committee, in which we've heard from bankers across the country, particularly our community banks, in which the uncertainty of what next happens under Dodd-Frank determines whether or not it's desirable to make a loan. What next is the examiner going to say, and what next are the regulations going to be? And in the absence of access to credit, our small businessmen and women in Kansas, our farmers and ranchers, the ability to borrow money has a significant role to play in whether or not we have a growing economy that puts people to work. So we certainly need to have that fair and certain tax code. We certainly need to make certain that the regulatory environment is totally different than what it is today. And we need to make certain that there is no doubt about the ability, due to regulations, that a bank can make a loan to a credit-worthy borrower. We also desperately need a policy in place that encourages domestic production of oil and gas, that helps us reduce the cost of energy. I don't know how we have a booming economy if energy prices are going to continue to escalate at the rates that they are. And the more that cost of gasoline reduces the spending power of American families, the less likely we're going to have any opportunity to see a growing economy. Certainly we have challenges in our housing market that need attention, and it's difficult for many of us to make decisions about spending more money if we don't have the sense of security that comes from knowing there is value in our home. And finally, I want to point out, and the one I just want to focus on a moment because of what appears to be coming from the Obama administration in regard to trade, is an indication that once again, the ability for Congress to consider the trade agreements with Colombia, Panama, and South Korea is being delayed. Much of our country's economy, and certainly in my home state of Kansas, is dependent. Many, many people, by the millions, work in the United States because the things we manufacture, the agriculture commodities that we grow, are exported abroad. And the last 3 trade agreements that have been negotiated have been pending now for a very long time, and the consequences of those trade agreements are significant. And I certainly know this as a Kansan